Hi there. Well, today we're going to be in Daniel 2, and it's a short one today. We're just actually going to look at one verse, and I'm going to summarize a little bit of Daniel 2. So if you want to start going to Daniel 2, remember if you go to Psalms right in the middle and then head toward Revelation, go I don't know, 5 or 6 books back toward Revelation, toward the end of the Bible, you'll hit Daniel. You'll go past Isaiah and Jeremiah, the longer prophets, and maybe we'll tackle those at a future time. While you're getting there, I had a question somebody sent me, and they asked me. I just invite you into my office, so welcome back to my office. But what are these three things, and why are they in the picture? They don't hold any significance necessarily to what I'm doing here, but I'll tell you what they are. So this poster we've had for a long time, but I have it hanging in my office now because it reminds me of we were going to in a couple of years ago in 2017. In late 2017, I got the opportunity to go to Greece to study the Bible. We're in Athens, which is Acts 17, and in visiting Crete and Patmos. And there a lot of this is a typical sailing past those Greek Isles. That's what they look like. It's a little more romanticized, and the painting style's a little, fuzzy, but it out there in the water is what reminds me of. Looks a lot like Patmos and Crete, and of course that's the Book of Titus and the Book of Revelation, and those are two of my favorites. So I have 66, but Titus is wonderful. And then this picture is, I just think it's neat. It was we were there just about a month ago. It's called Elfrith's Alley, and it sounds like something out of a fiction novel or something, but it's actually the oldest continuously inhabited street in the United States, residential street. There's still people living there. If any of them ever come up for sale, you can buy them. Most of them are historical sites. I'm sure they would cost a pretty penny, but I thought that was kind of cool. That reminds me of. Actually, the Bible talks about Damascus. So Damascus is the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world, and you can look that up. It's never been destroyed. There's obviously people still living there. They're going through a rough patch now. In this time, and that's Syria. That's all. It's bombed out and very dangerous right now. But there have always been people living there, and it says in the Bible that Damascus is going to be destroyed, and no one will live there. And that's prophecy. Nobody else tells the future the way that the Lord tells the future. And I thought this would be a good time to answer that question because it's right here. So even though this is Philadelphia and it's only a couple of 100 years old, it reminds me that the Lord is in control, and kind of what we're going to talk about right here. And then this is, I'll put my little thing here down. I get it down. So this is, I don't know if I can take it off the wall and show you close. You can look it up, but it's, there you go. It reminds me of the Lion of Judah slain but what it really is, you see this down here, it's Lucerne, and that's what that is right there. It was just a little souvenir that I picked up because I thought it was really wonderful to look at and a good reminder of all sorts of things. But it's in Lucerne, Switzerland. You can look up Lucerne, Switzerland, Lucerne. Back when I was teaching in 2007, I took a group of students to Switzerland and Italy and southern France, and we visited all sorts of places. And that was one of the places we visited, and it's a monument to Swiss soldiers that were killed, and it's fascinating actually to look up, but I don't want to spend any more time here. So that's what those three are. Those are either the person that's if anybody else was interested in that, but the person that sent that question in, there you go. And so for me, it's Crete and Patmos, reminding me of that, and Damascus and the United States, and the sacrifice of Jesus and Swiss soldiers. So there's double meanings there. But in Daniel 2, if you'll look at verse 28, that's the vitamin for today. And boy, it's one to have highlighted. So we're actually not gonna get into Daniel 2. I've thought about how to do this, and Daniel is a complex book to say the least. And so to do it in little bits of less than 15 minutes, that's going to take some planning. So Daniel 2 is tied to Daniel 7. And so Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 are actually talking about the same things and in different ways. And so I'm going to wait until we get to Daniel 7, and I'm going to do Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 at the same time, okay? So, but here's the preview. Here's the bridge to Daniel 3. We'll get to Daniel 3 next time. But Daniel 2, if you look at verse 28, it says, "There is a God in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will be in the latter days. Your dream," now this is Daniel talking to Nebuchadnezzar, "your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed were these." And then he tells him what the dream was. And you read before Daniel 2:28, and you read after, and you find the context. So any verse in the Bible has 31,102 other verses weighing down on it. You can't just take the verse and slap it on a bumper sticker and make what you want to say. You have to talk about the whole counsel of God. What is it? How does it make sense in the rest of it? And the first context is the verses before and after it, and then the book that it's in, and all of that. And so that's just Bible interpretation 101. But this is talking about, in the context of this, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. He was very upset. We talked about this last time, that he was very upset that the wise men, supposedly that were wise, couldn't come up with the answers to what his dream were. They should have been able to. That's what they claimed to be, and they couldn't do it. But Daniel could. And here he says very directly to Nebuchadnezzar in verse 20, it's a key verse, "There is a God in heaven who reveals secrets." So he's not taking credit. Isn't that a fascinating thing? See, we shouldn't take credit. A good friend of mine, he used to say this all the time when we don't live around each other now, and I don't get to talk to him as often as I would like, but he used to say, "All the good is God and the rest is me." And then, well, that's an amazing thing, to give the Lord credit for everything. It says in Revelation that we're going to be casting all of our crowns, any crown that we've earned, the Lord gets credit for. We're going to cast our crowns at his feet. That's what worship is, and we'll be doing it forever and ever. So you're never going to become what you're not becoming right now. You're on the path toward doing that. And so this life is practice for what's coming next. And what we do here determines our eternity in accordance with God's will. But it says there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets. And it says something too, not only about Daniel and his character, but about God and who he is. God is the revealer of secrets. All right. A term called progressive revelation. We find the gospel all the way back as early as Genesis 3, talking about God telling Adam and Eve and the snake and Satan that Christ is going to defeat Satan, but he doesn't use Christ's name. And along the way, as you read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, you get more of a sense. He reveals himself in stages. God does. And so he's the revealer of secrets. And he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will be and then there's an interesting term, the latter days. And as you get to, you read what the dream is here. We're going to find out what's in Daniel 7. And you're going to find out that he's talking about, a period of many, many hundreds of years, and really thousands. Things that have happened, that are happening right there with Daniel, things that are happening between Daniel and Christ, things that have happened between Daniel and really all the way up to the Middle Ages. There are parts of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. He was dreaming about things that didn't happen until, all the way up to 1453 and then there's some things that are still happening that haven't completely developed yet. but we can see it heading that way. And even Christ talks about that, and we talked about that a little bit more in Matthew 24 in a previous chewable vitamin. But so there's a lot in this little verse. So verse 28, chapter 2, verse 28 of Daniel talks about who Daniel is, what a godly man does, how he talks about God, and it talks about who God is. And then it says, your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed were these. And then it goes on. If you read the rest of chapter 2, it's talking about this big statue that has different types of metal, metal that has different characteristics: gold, silver, bronze, the iron, and the feet and what come after the feet are really fascinating, and how they tie in with what we find out in Daniel 7 and then into Revelation. And so we're going to stop there. So there you go. I hope that little vitamin meant something to you. I love that verse in chapter 2, verse 28. And next time we'll get into Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And don't forget about that statue, because we're going to come back to that after we get past Daniel 3 and 4 and 5 and then 6 in the lion's den. It's all very fascinating. Okay, see you soon. Bye.